All right, so today we're working on 4-5, translating and solving word problems that involve inequalities. And so I want you to start with this warm-up. Remember, break it down into parts. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. So 4 less than twice P is at least 20 less than P. Pause the recording and see if you can do this. All right, now students, how do I show 4 less than twice P? Go.
2P minus 4.
Good. Less than means we switch the terms. 2P minus 4. And then is at least, Adam? Greater than or equal to. 20 less than P. 20 less than P, Alan? Good. Okay, and what am I doing to solve it? Let's go with Darren.
You subtract 4 on both sides.
Subtract 4?
I mean, add 4 on both sides.
Adding 4 on both sides. Next.
Minus 16.
Minus 16. And then keep going, Darren.
So then you subtract P on both sides.
And then we end up with?
P is greater than or equal to negative 16.
Good. P is greater than or equal to negative 16. So everybody's understanding the difference of when it says is at least, less than, is less than. Are you guys understanding that? Yes.
Yes. Didn't you have subtracted the P before you added the 4?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter. That's fine. All right, so let's try another one. Now we're going to do a couple of the word problems. Mark has 13 more than Bill. If together they have at most $85, what is the most money that Bill could have? Now, I want you to think back. This is chapter 4. We only solve things with one variable. You know, they're giving us problems that are easy to solve with one variable. It's kind of hard to go back because you know how to solve with 2 variables. What is my unknown?
Having Bill? Most money that Bill could have.
So Bill. Okay, who do they give me less information on? Bill. So let's call Bill X. I'm going to remind you, every time you do word problems, I need you to do this. Identify your unknowns. If you don't, you won't get credit for homework. So X stands for Bill. And then how would I translate Mark's money?
X plus 13.
What?
X plus 13.
Right? Mark has 13 more than Bill, so it would be X plus 13. And X is really Bill's money. Okay, so what's the equation going to look like? And you should be writing these, not sitting there staring. Somebody I haven't heard from, please. What do you think? Together, they have at most $85. I need to hear from somebody I haven't heard from. Dora Lisa.
X plus 13 equals 85.
Is it equals at most? At most. Andrew? Less than or equal to 85. So we add our x's together, and then I have subtract 13. 2x is less than or equal to 272 divided by 2. And what do we get? X is less than or equal to what? 36. So Bill has how much? In this case, 36. If it had said less than, what would you say?
At least.
You would go to like 35. But if it said less than 36, it says less than or equal to. And that means 36 and 13 becomes 49. If I add those up, does that add to 85? Or at most 85? Yeah. Check. It does. Okay, are there questions on this one? We'll just do this one because I like to hear the check mark. There we go. Ready? Ready? It's like me whipping somebody. Okay. All right, but they're only asking about Bill's money. Are you guys good?
Yes.
Okay, sum of three consecutive integers. Please pay close attention and write this down. In fact, you probably should have something like this written down, but it's a consecutive integer. So what's the first thing I need to do? Someone I haven't heard from. Okay, I'm going to call on you. How about Caden? What do I always do with consecutive integer problems? Always the same thing. Okay, but before I do that, you have the equation, but what must I do for the extra point? Guys, it's the same thing for every word problem. Identify your unknown. So what does X stand for? If you don't write this part, then you only get half the credit on the points. So what does X stand for, guys? The first integer. Jake, what would the next one be? Plus 1 is the second integer. And the next is the third integer. Now, if I don't define it, like I said, you're only getting half the credit. You have to do this part. Now, what's the equation, Jake? Is less than 60. So I get 3x plus 3 is less than 60. You guys paying close attention? 3x is less than 57. Divide by 3, and x is less than 19. So what's my first integer? Okay, I'm going to ask you to make sense of your endings with inequalities. They're different. Notice the ending. Oh my God. Notice the ending. Okay, what does that mean? X is less than 19. Come on, guys. Yes.
That the X will be either 18, 17.
Right. But we are looking at the greatest possible value for each integer. So what is the closest integer less than 19? It can't be 18.5 because that's not an integer. It's got to be a negative or positive whole number, so it's 18. And then what would the next one be? 19 and 20. So how do these change with inequalities? Yep.
If it was X equals 19, then the first integer wouldn't be 18, it would be 19.
Right. And so what's changing here is we got to make sense of our ending. It says X has to be less than 19. I have to follow. I need consecutive integers less than 19. What's the closest consecutive integer less than 19? It's 18. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, can I erase?
Yes.
We'll do the check mark again. Ready? And when you add them, they should all add up to less than 60. Ready? Ready? Okay. Okay. Gotta have some fun. Okay. Okay. Heather received grades of 80, 75, and 86 on algebra tests. How do we find an average of your grades? Okay, Adam?
You add everything and then divide by the number of numbers.
Yep, by the number of tests or the number of grades. So in this case, what is my unknown? What does X stand for? You always have to do this on your word problems. What is it doesn't stand for the average. What are they looking for?
What her next grade should be.
The next test. Right? So how would I set this up? How about Douglas? Try.
80 plus 75
What'd you say?
Put those in parentheses.
Okay, but we have one more test.
Oh, plus x.
Divided by,
4.
good. And then it says, what must her grades be on the next test if her average for the 4 tests is to be at least 82?
Greater than or equal to.
Yes, this has to be greater than or equal to 82. So what would we do first?
My bad. Add the like terms.
Okay, we could do that. And that's 241 plus x divided by 4 is greater than or equal to 82. Next.
And
Get rid of the denominator. What do I have to do?
multiply everything by 4 over 1.
Yep. Cancel, cancel. Right? Then I get 241 plus x is greater than or equal to, it's 8, it's 328. Subtract 241, subtract 241. X is greater than or equal to 7, and that would be 8. And so make sense of that answer. Making sense. What does that mean to the story? What would be 87? The next test she has to get at least 87 or greater. Does that make sense? All right, how you feeling about these? Okay, okay, why don't we start with the homework? Let's look at, wait, one more. Now notice these are consecutive even integers. So like, let's say after I do everything, I get x. Let's just say I get x is greater than 19. Or let's say x is less than 19. Right? If I'm looking for even integers, I have to go to the closest even integer less than 19. Do you understand that? Let's say I get 19 2/3, 19.2, and they ask for the closest integer. Let's say x is greater than. X is greater than 19 2/10. And they ask you for the greatest integer. What would the solution be? 20. You have to go to the next integer greater. Integer means negative or positive whole numbers. Got it? Or 0. You guys good?
Yes.
Okay, do your homework.
Alright.